Oh, when you said one thing, Frank, earlier, where you're like, if we can talk about it and I'll just cut apart or
Yeah.
whatever. Freaking okay. When he sent out the thing,
The spell?
Luogi's spell.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
Did
is
you
up
have
with
any
that?
idea what the heck was going on?
I did.
No.
I did.
I get it. And then when it comes to like what it means, I was like, shut up. Shut your face.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was like, this is amazing. I was like, genius. He's a genius.
Yeah.
I was so amazed. How did you know?
I don't know. I just honestly, I kind of guessed what he was doing. Really did. And I'm not lying. I'm just saying.
You should have said that as the thing that you had predicted. But I finally figured out, because it's been like confusing me for quite a long time, of why she's always so concerned about Frank. She's just like, what's going on with him?
Yeah.
What is going on with him? All the time.
Yeah.
And I said, because I just casually said, because we had that text message thing, I was like, Frank's like really happy. He's like super happy. And she was like, is it because he has a new girlfriend? And I was like, no, it's because he's just happy to be like connecting with everyone and feeling really connected between us all. And then she's like, well, I checked his Facebook page and it says he has a new girlfriend. And on her page it says that she's with him. So like our relationships and connections don't matter to him at all.
No.
I'm like,
it is literally all about, for the love of fuck.
move your ass.
Well, can I see what the hell I look like in my camera?
If you had better mic placement, I'd let you.
Yeah, mom is only concerned about, I shouldn't say only, her main concern is who we end up with. And I think that stems from her parents' relationship and then her relationship, right? So she doesn't want us to totally fuck ourselves with whoever we end up with.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Super.
Yeah, that makes sense. But, I mean, I don't think we would. Because I think, well, I told her yesterday, I said, when she was talking about being afraid, she said, I figured out the reason, because she said it. She was like, I see so much of myself in Frank. And I was like, oh, that's where all the worry is coming from. Because if I saw a lot of myself, yeah.
It's not a
terrifying.
logical thought process.
What are
It's
you
a
guys talking about?
fear-based thought process.
Why am I
Yeah.
being brought up?
Well,
Because mom
and then
always
I was
asks
like,
if you're
oh,
okay.
Oh, if I'm okay.
always. Well, how's he doing? Like, you are the baby. You
Yeah.
are still the little baby in her mind.
Yep.
Totally.
But I told her, I was like, Mom, you've done your job, because the job of the parent is the parent goes through their whole life and struggles. And their job as a parent is to make their children, to help their children to not struggle as much in a shorter period of time, get to a stable position. And you've done that, because we are not in the same position you were at your age. We're not there. We're in a better position. So I was like, so you're
Alone
already
and happy.
succeeding. So you don't have to, well, so you don't have to worry so much.
Yeah.
And she was just like, well, that's nice. And I was like, yeah, you've done a good job. Like, you can
Chill out.
relax.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know how people do it. I'm like, people put the weight of the world on their shoulders. It's like, it's not all up to you. Number one, chill out. It is
Totally.
not all up to you.
Kids are hard, man. Kids are hard. It's hard to not have that fear.
Now, the weight of the world was on Luogi's shoulders. Welcome to Unseasoned Reviews, everybody.
Hi, I'm This is an amazing series. It's the best one
It
we've read
is.
so far. I highly, highly, highly recommend it, because you will never, I guarantee you have not read a more innovative story. I guarantee it. Like, prove me wrong. I would love to be proven wrong. I would love to have suggestions which are this crazy. Prove me wrong. This is such a good series. You don't see it coming. You don't have any idea. I guarantee you right now, you have no idea what's going to happen. Nope.
I was messing around about starting it, but I guess here we are.
Here we are. We're starting
Tori's
it.
ready.
so
She was
good.
locked and loaded.
Yeah.
Before it hit
That's what Mom did
before
the
it
other
even hit
day.
noon, she fired.
She drove by a build. We drove by a building that is almost completely done, but not actually manned yet. And she's like, bang, like it was gonna start. But that's what she did. Pointed out the window, went bang.
What is that about?
It's just amazing to print it for it. Just like I just
Victoria.
looked over at her and started laughing. Like, okay,
That doesn't make any sense.
bang.
It doesn't
Was-
make any
I know.
sense.
Is
It's
it
gonna
a
start. She means
drive-by?
it's gonna start. Like a starting pistol. They're about to start their business. Bang. Starting pistol. Go.
That makes more sense now that you say that, but
It's
it's
still stupid.
So weird.
No, still dumb.
I love it because it's the most random thing, but it does make sense in the end. But you're just like, why did your brain go there?
Yeah.
This is why I'm weird. I was wondering for the longest time, where's it come from? It's hidden inside her.
Yeah.
It comes out sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm like, there it is. That's me.
Dude, I was looking at a photo of Mom when she was holding me as a baby, and she looks exactly like me. Anyway.
But it was a great moment. It comes out of her. This is random moments. Anyway, what do you think of the book, Danielle?
It's so good.
Of the half book.
It's so good. Like
Where
Where
tell
are
us where
you?
you're at. Tell us where you're at. Tell us where you're at.
Well, yes, Thomas, we'll cut it.
I'm where what's his face?
Luigi?
Martinez? No, just
Rio.
started requesting all those
Ray.
bombs.
Sorry. Ray Martinez.
Yeah.
Ray Diaz.
Ray
Yeah.
Diaz, thank you. I was like, Martinez sounded weird.
He wants all the bombs for space.
Yeah.
And,
Oh my God, Danielle.
and the whole place is like laughing at him. They're like, no, you're crazy.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm gonna build them. So, and then the next thing you hear is, we're canceling him. It's like, oh shit, what does that
He's
mean?
out of here. I remember that. You have some milestones you're coming to that you're gonna be like, what?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot
They're
with
gonna
all of
go
them.
into the future.
It's crazy. Like
Victoria, shush.
it's like, how much are we revealing to our audience? It's so
Well,
good.
also, well, I can cut
Well-
that. It's just I don't want you to know too much, Danielle, yet. Because you haven't read it. Don't know.
Oh, are you still wanting to talk a little bit more about the first book and reveal a little bit more?
Well, if we just wanted anything to be brought up, because I mean, honestly, we haven't even said what's going on. So we are talking today about book number 2 in Lu Sushin's series, the 3 Body Problem series. But we're talking about book number 2, which is The Dark Forest. I was talking about, guys, if we wanted to discuss anything in book 1, I mean, obviously we should give a little summary about what happened, catch people up, but yeah. So you guys want me to give a summary of book 1?
Sure.
Bang.
Oh my gosh, please don't.
Yeah, that's lame. So book 1, what we find out is things happen, stuff. Just drawn a blank. Hold on, I collect my thoughts.
People and things and words are flying through your mind
There's
really
science.
fast. Ideas,
Oh,
concepts,
We
okay,
like
wait.
talking
I got
and
it.
not
Small
talking.
things. really small things, microscopic things.
I got
And
it.
then book's over. On to book 2. Okay.
That's not it. I got it. So what happens is you find out that there's a cultural revolution in China. The Communist Revolutionary Party basically reasserts its control over China because they're getting a little too bourgeois. They end up killing this professor at a university for teaching too many reactionary theories, I believe is what they said, and he won't basically repent. Well, his daughter sees it. and she's there crying, and then afterwards she basically hates humanity. She goes to this secret military base because she's exiled, and she's a scientist, but she wants to find some work that she can actually enjoy and be isolated from society. So she decides to join up with a secret military base that's scientific research. She doesn't really know what's going on there, but she kind of moves up the ranks because she's so smart. Eventually, what you come to find out is that thing is the search for extraterrestrial life, and it sends out transmissions and whatnot. All the while, what's going on in the main story is that basically there's this group called New Frontiers of Science, or the Frontiers of Science. They are they're not a government organization, they're a private organization, but they have like high-ranking members in the government and scientists, and they're kind of a weird group. And so everybody's trying to figure out what's going on with them. But what's also happening is that cutting-edge scientists have started committing suicide, and nobody knows why, and they're leaving these really cryptic messages, kind of like there's no point in any of this anymore. And so we don't understand what's happening. So the government recruits this other scientist to kind of infiltrate and find out what's going on. Then we go back to that lady that was at the military base, and you find out that they're searching for extraterrestrial life. Well, she discovers that there's these weird signals that came from the solar system, or not from the solar system, but from outside our solar system. And she's trying to figure out, based on somebody else's research, what was going on. And then she figures out that I believe the signal was advanced civilization, right? Like they picked up the Trisolaris signal first, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because then she sends out the signal to them.
No,
I lied. I lied.
They send a signal, and
Who does?
Trisolaris,
Yeah,
a
Trisolaris gets
random
it.
man, but it's a random man. That's the cool thing, is that when you think about us receiving communication, I always think it's a global thing. Everybody knows. You wouldn't know. It's some random guy, and the random guy is like, "Do not ever contact us again.
Yep.
Don't do it."
Yep. But what happens before that is she figures out how to amplify a radio signal, because the radio signals weren't leaving the solar system. They weren't powerful enough. Well, based on another scientist's research, she figures out that she can use the sun to amplify radio waves. So she uses that, hence Trisolaris, this alien civilization, because all of a sudden that random guy that Victoria's talking about sends the message back, basically saying, "We will destroy your civilization. Please do not contact us again." This lady, remember, her dad died due to the Cultural Revolution. She hates humanity, basically.
She went through a whole bunch of torture.
Yep. And
she's now in prison, basically, by the government till the end of her life.
She won't be trusted.
She receives this message from some random person, which even now, all of her friends have turned against her. She has nobody.
Yep.
And
no mom. The mom turned against her dad.
He says civilization will be destroyed.
Yep.
She's like, big whoop.
Yep.
I think we need that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And so she sends a signal back right to Trisolaris, and now Trisolaris knows where Earth's at. And come to find out that this Frontiers of Science organization was actually people that have been in contact with the alien organization 40 years later, because this part of the timeline is taking place 40 years later. And there's the group that has been in contact with Trisolaris, the aliens, is helping Trisolaris to get to Earth, because they do, yes, want to kill Earth and take it over, because their planet is all messed up. But what you find out over the course of the game, there's this game that they're playing in a VR suit. It is called 3-Body Problem. What you find out is that there are 3 suns on Trisolaris's world, around their planet, and they can't figure out when there's a stable cycle and when there is a chaotic cycle. And basically it's because, since you have 3 different suns that are all orbiting each other, it has very strange
weather patterns.
well, movements of the suns. So the suns will orbit far away from the planet, and then sometimes it'll be super close. So it's very weird. This planet's being thrown all around these 3 suns. And so the civilization of the people that live there can't figure out when they're supposed to live there. Nobody can create a calendar that will tell them when there's going to be a stable period. The point of this game is to kind of try and solve that. Yep.
How long the chaos lasts. They don't have any clue of like how things work based on. It's just total chaos most of the time.
And the sun will sometimes just burn up the entire planet, and then the civilization has to start over. So the weird thing is that this group of people has learned how to dehydrate their bodies, so that way they can then they can rehydrate them later. So that's kind of a weird, strange thing. So they can almost like stack people up in a closet that are all basically little like strips of leather.
They beef jerky themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they
best way to describe it.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
But they do make it to the scientific age sometimes, and they're getting better at it.
Yeah. They keep having, that's the crazy thing, is they keep, like, depending on how long a stable era will last, they keep going through the stages that we as a civilization have gone through. And since our Earth is very stable, it just continues to progress most of the time. But we do have periods where we go back, but they will like drastically go back, and then they'll have to build all the way back up to,
wherever they can,
the Enlightenment and all of that. And they rarely get to it. Like, it's super crazy. The 3 people playing this 3-body problem game on Earth that are trying to understand and figure out and help the Trisolarans, they are all incredibly intelligent, and even they are struggling to figure out Trisolaran world and how to help it. But they keep trying, and one person comes in, and I forget their name, who figured it out, so they could go to the next level.
Talking about Wang Mao?
Yeah. Remember when he figured it out? And then there are always these weird breakout characters in this series so far that you don't expect anything from them, and then they have this, they're super intelligent.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Dasha.
And they're usually the least likely person. Which is interesting. It's fun. It's fun because you don't know where it's going. This book is like Trisolaris. You have no idea. You'll have a super stable period. You're like, I wasn't expecting that. And then you'll have a full chaos where you're like, okay, I guess. Like,
I guess we're here now.
Who knows?
Yeah. It's I love it. I mean, I want to keep reading it. But okay, so basically what ends up happening in that book is Trisolaris finds out about Earth. They decide, yep, we are going to take them over because our planet sucks. And they learn about Earth, and they learn how destructive we are. So they're like, yeah, we can't live with these people. We're just going to take them over. So Trisolaris ends up making these things called sophons, which is based on quantum entanglement, where they can have one sophon that they can send out into the universe, and the other one can stay there. And then by looking at the one that stays there, they can figure out what's going on with the other one. It's a way to monitor and do stuff. So these sophons are basically used as little drones, almost little AI sort of things. I mean, they're this small little intelligence that they use to stop any fundamental physics research from occurring, because they can go into particle accelerators and mess up the data. So they send this sophon to Earth, and it gets there really fast. And it also monitors Earth and tells them what's going on. So then Earth finds out about it and basically realizes, well, we're going to be under constant surveillance, and now we have to figure out how to stop these people. I think that's pretty much it for book 1, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because now Trisolaris is going to build a fleet, and they're going to come to Earth.
Yep.
Yep.
But how long is it going to take them to get there? I think that's
450.
interesting. Huh?
450 years.
Yeah, so it's like the people...
Well, Trisolaris... Oh, sorry, go on.
No, it's just, to me, it was so interesting to think about, like, what you're working on, you won't even see come into fruition, right? And your children won't see it, your grandchildren won't see it. So it's like that mindset of, what am I truly working for?
Yep.
And so, and you're dealing a lot with that in this second book of, like, none of us are going to see this.
Well, let's set up the second book a little more.
Yeah.
Talk about and share your thoughts.
We learn about we learn about 3 groups in the beginning, because we learn about Luoji, well, not groups, but yeah, Luoji and the girlfriend in college. We learn about him. We also learn about what will later come to be the military force, him and his father's situation. And we also Space Force, and we also learn about the governmental sort of connection of and community connection of who, if there was to be, like Danielle said, you have to think about the future, and we'll have to put people into hibernation to be able to realize plans later.
We're going too far.
Who will that be? Who gets chosen? Who's going to be in future generations? But these are the 3 groups that we start with.
Victoria,
isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You're right. But I think you should explain basically the summary of the story of the beginning of basically, okay, we know Tri-Solaris is coming. They're going to be here in 450 years. What's the government do?
Well, right now the government knows that everything that goes on Earth, every conversation that you have, every piece of data that you transfer digitally, everything, even equipment, everyone is
any information
transparent
that's recorded. Any information recorded anywhere.
So the only free space still is in your own mind. Anything you share with another person is suspect. Anything that's shared with you is suspect. The only thing that's safe is everything in your own brain. The thoughts that you think are safe. Right when you transmit that to anything, you're not safe. So the government comes up with a plan to be able to defend themselves against the Tri-Solarans by creating the Wall Facers project. The Wall Facers are randomly selected, seemingly. They don't get to know why they're selected.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Basically, yeah.
Right before that, though, there is thoughts of there's hopelessness in society, and a lot of people are talking about, hey, why don't we, instead of coming up with a plan to fight these guys, come up with a plan to escape these guys and sort of leave Earth. So they're going to do that at first, and then I believe it was the US they realized would not share technology and was building their own sort of stuff. And so then the UN just decided, nope, no more escapism. It is basically, they came up with a law that banned it. So because so many people were basically getting so defeatist about even fighting these people. So then they just said, no, we're all fighting them. Basically, we're burning the ships. Nobody's going home. We're all in this together, because if we all don't fight together, then we're going to lose. If we all don't pull through this, basically. And that's when they go with Wall Facer plan. Which, Victoria, go ahead.
Yes. So the Wall Facer plan is they choose 4, and I don't know if there was ever a specified amount that had to be chosen, but they ended up choosing 4 Wall Facers. And what these people do is they have almost unlimited resources. The government gives them that privilege, and then they are totally alone from that point of Wall Facer status onward, because all of their thoughts are supposed to remain in their head. Their strategy for saving the world are distinct from even each other. They have no loyalties or connection to any other human. They have to keep everything in their own head, and even what they say will automatically be suspect to anybody else, because everyone else knows that a Wall Facer isn't supposed to divulge their plan. So everyone is suspect to them, and they are suspect to everyone. They are completely alone in the world. So the government says, okay, Wall Facers, go forth, tell us your plans. We will have a very small group of people that can question you. But in the end, you basically have free reign to create strategy to save the Earth. This plan will span into the future. Hibernation is an option. So once you complete a certain part of your plan, you can go into hibernation and then come back out of it to be there for the next part of your plan or the end of your plan. We don't know. But go ahead and create a plan for Earth. Thanks. Tell us where you want to go, what you want, what resources you want, where you want to go with it. It's basically just a free reign. Just imagine being a god for a day. There you go. Here's God status. Nobody will ever know your thoughts. You are completely alone. Do something for us.
Yeah.
And they send them forth like that. That's what the UN does. It's insanity.
Yeah.
There are 4 of them. One of them is a ex-president of, or is he still the president of Venezuela?
Ex-president.
Yeah, ex-president of Venezuela, which he did a crazy thing while he was president, which is kind of why you think he was chosen, where I think he defended Venezuela from
the U.S. Just real quick. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, go.
No, he defended Venezuela from the U.S. So the U.S. was going to take over Venezuela and invade.
Oh,
but
yeah.
He fought them off with. It's crazy. It's kind of what's happening right now. But he fought them off with like limited resources and whatever. And they're like, well, if this guy can.
Basically, guerrilla tactics, they say.
Okay, what he did was, guys.
But it wasn't really because he was an engineer.
What he did, guys, was he took his military and took all of them out of their uniforms, and they just joined civilization population. That was his main tactic. So basically, it was like, wait, who's the military then? Because everybody had on civilian clothes, and then that's when he used guerrilla warfare with them.
That is genius.
Yeah.
Then there's Hines.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first, Ray Diaz, the ex-Venezuelan president,
Yeah.
wall-facer. Automatically, because of what he did, he's kind of hated by certain groups within the UN. I know they're supposed to be all peace-loving, but he's automatically kind of the outsider because of the fact that he's defended. I mean, he's done a great job, but it was against their purposes.
Yeah.
So then we have Hines. Hines is he started off as a scientist, and then he went into politics, and he was in neuroscience. So he hasn't really done anything other than being a neuroscience scientist and being in politics. It's a rare combination, but that's pretty much all you get for information of why he was chosen.
Mm-hmm.
And he's married to a lady who is also, I can't remember what science she does. I think it's similar.
Same thing. They're both neuroscience.
Which confused me because wall-facers are supposed to be alone, but somehow it seemed like they would be working together really close. Yeah. Then we have Tyler. And I can't remember what he did, so someone else go.
He's a military guy. He was like basically the Secretary of State for the U.S. And he was
The older.
Yeah, he was part of the military, and then he was Secretary of State. He led in wars and was a general, I believe, and then was the main commander of troops and whatnot. And then as Secretary of State, obviously, you're, in charge of defense as well. So, yeah, he's obviously, the biggest military in the world, leading that. He's an obvious candidate at the very least of somebody to look at. Not from my perspective, but I'm just saying, like, in general of the world, that's who you would expect. So yeah, that's Tyler. And then the fourth one.
And the fourth one is Luoji, who you'll read about on the back of the book.
Mm-hmm.
He's the first person that you're introduced to in the book as well. Well, I should say an ant is the first person you're introduced to. But then you're introduced to Luoji, and it's an interesting. If you pick up the second book, I guarantee you will never have a book start the way this one does, where it's an ant describing its existence.
Oh yeah, that was so weird.
How it sees things. And it was so weird, but it was so good because I was like, right when I was reading that, I was like, this makes sense because this is us in the universe. We are the ant just feeling our way through what probably other civilizations see as just a bigger picture, and we're seeing these tiny details and trying to figure it out still. But it's our indomitable spirit that keeps us going to try to figure it out, even though
Mhm.
we are so small, and even though we know that there are bigger creatures. As the ant is seeing the human, I kept thinking, this is us. We're the ant. And
Yeah.
it was a good, what is it, analogy or metaphor? But
Analogy.
to describe how we're sort of venturing out into the great wide darkness of space.
Yeah.
Like, this is awful. This is terrifying. But anyway, we're introduced to him, and right at the beginning, you can tell he's the kind of person who doesn't have a lot of direction in life other than I need to make money and like make a life for myself. But he doesn't have a lot of drive or interest in a lot of things. He's kind of floating through and just, he's like a billiard ball. You hit it and it goes where it goes and it pings off other things. And right what you're introduced to first is a conversation that he has with a woman, which is really weird. It's an unusual conversation where she just suggests to him, oh, since you're involved in, since you trained in or studied sociology, because I think he did, why don't you, and he went out of something
No,
and
he went
came
out of
into
astronomy.
sociology,
So
right?
he was gonna study astronomy, but it was too hard. It was too much work, I think.
Yeah, he didn't like, yeah, I think he said there was like nowhere to go with it or something, but she was like, well, why don't you do cosmic sociology?
Yeah.
And that had never been done before. And she basically presented to him some tenets that you could follow, some rules, or this must be true.
Did you say who that was?
Situations.
It's his girlfriend.
No, it's not. It's Yuwen,
No, it's not.
guys. It's
the
Yuwen.
older woman.
It's the girl that said that told the aliens, "Hey, we're here. Come and get us." And then
Right.
she tells him that.
She said, "My job is finished."
Yeah, after
that
she
was one
done.
thing that she said that I was like,
I did my
whoa.
part. I did my part.
Yeah.
Something
No
like
matter
that?
what happens, I did my part.
Yeah.
Something like
yeah.
that. And it's ominous. I'm
Yeah,
gonna tell
well,
you.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
This
Well,
book is
this-
ominous as heck.
Because it's at one point he's up on a mountain. Well, this is too far, but into what Victoria's going to explain about. But at one point he's up on the mountain and he says, "I'm with this this fictional character, and I should be with the woman who like started all of this."
Mm.
So that's why I thought it was his girlfriend, because he makes that comment of, "I'm up here on this mountain creating this fire, and I
That is
should
cryptic.
be down with a real person."
What mountain? What are you talking about?
Remember, he goes on that trip with her.
When he goes on that random trip and
He just
he doesn't want to
drives
know where he's
around.
going, he has the imaginary character and he ends up in the just
way
in the
in the
natural
boonies.
world. He ends up at the mountain. He goes up in there. He gets
Creates
his
the
car
fire.
his car does something. He doesn't run out of gas. Something happens to
The
it.
axle breaks.
But he gets up there. They get out. Yes, and then he says that he's having that conversation.
Yeah, he builds a fire, and he's
Yeah,
like,
I remember all that.
he's like, "Why am I spending this time and energy on this fictional character when I should be down with the?"
No,
real-"
he's talking not about you, Wincia. That is in relation to the college girl that told him to write a novel for himself, for her, as a birthday gift, because he could
Yeah.
create characters so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, why are we talking about this?
So that's why she's saying she connected. That's why she's saying when he was talking about the tenants, that's why Danielle connected it to the girlfriend. But it wasn't the girlfriend in the beginning. It was that older woman.
Gotta get it.
Wait, so
And-
you wanted to tell us how you messed it up in your head?
You're such an ass. I didn't.
Anyway,
I didn't
so-
realize there was two women. I thought it was one.
Oh,
Ooh.
that's a big deal then, Yelly.
What two
You're
women?
like, okay, hold
Wait,
on.
you
I
didn't
gotta
realize
read.
what two women? What are you talking about?
I thought there was two.
She didn't realize the difference from the bench. The bench that they or the
You
grave
didn't
site that they were
realize
at.
you, Wincia, was in there?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
I thought the
yeah.
girlfriend was the same one that told him about sociology and the same one that told him about to
No.
make the fictional character.
No, it was the tie-in from the last book.
Yeah.
And it's crazy too because okay, I can't even say it because you haven't read it. But
Well-
anyway,
Just go ahead.
No,
I
because-
no. Don't act like that.
Danielle, first off, real quick, I just want to say at the beginning, what they're talking about is they're at Ying Dings. Grave, Wincia's child,
Yeah.
and he was there as well.
Dong.
Huh?
You and Dong or something.
I can't remember.
What's her name?
There's so many names that there's so many characters that it's just like it's too much. Yeah. But she didn't have a big part. She was in a small part in the first book because she was she was one of the scientists that committed suicide.
Yep.
And that was at her grave. That's why Wincia was there. And that's when she spoke to Luo. But yeah.
So Luo G is, where was I? Luo G has had this conversation with this woman about cosmic sociology, which does not exist. And then this is years into the future when he hasn't pursued it, but he becomes a wall facer suddenly. He's done nothing with his life, basically. Nothing. He's just continued along, plodding along, just trying to make a living. He is nothing like the other three wall facers, which have had very driven, like focused goals, impassioned lives. They've achieved so much that because they just out of their heart wanted to.
Yeah.
Luoji is completely different. He's never followed a passion like that. Even in his relationships, like that's one of the first things you notice about him is that he doesn't care about people. He only cares about himself. He has a completely self-focused lifestyle. So he has no idea why he's been chosen as a wall facer. And those are the four.
Yeah.
Someone take over.
Well, what I will say is the reason why he was chosen as a wall facer, the only reason that's revealed to him is because Trisolaris wants to kill him. That's the only reason, and we don't know why. We have no idea why Trisolaris wants to kill Luoji. But they do. They try to assassinate him with one of the girls that he's with when they're describing his original life, right? Before he's chosen, he is with a girl, and basically it's not going to work out because Luoji doesn't commit to anybody. And they're about to separate, and he makes some comment to her, and she goes to hit him with her bag, and it makes Luoji stumble, and then a car hits her and kills her. Luoji thinks that
that wasn't the first attempt on his life, though. Evans also attempted his life previously for the Lord. He's one of, they call the Trisolarans the
first.
Lord. No.
Yeah, it was. The car accident was the first.
Nope.
What was the first?
When Evans did. I don't know what it was, but they tell us that later. They say the attempt on the life, Evans tried first. It wasn't the Trisolarans that attempted it. It was Evans that tried.
Victoria, Evans gave the order, but the thing is they were supposed to make it so that way the ETO would not know that, or that nobody would know the ETO was behind it. That was Evans. It came from the Lord, but Evans said, make sure that they don't know the ETO is trying to assassinate him, which is why they tried the car accident, but it didn't work. That was the first attempt. I promise you.
Okay.
And then they tried to shoot him in the chest. I don't know if we should have said that, but oh well. Actually, no, because it's fine. But then we won't say the last one because they try again.
Yeah.
But they keep trying to kill this guy, and we don't know why. And he survives that first attack with the car accident, and he doesn't realize that anybody's trying to attack him. It seems like a car accident, and then he's detained, and then all of a sudden he's brought to the UN, where all of these meetings keep going on, and lo and behold, he's a wall facer. And when he asks why, they basically, and then after he leaves the wall facer meeting, being a wall facer, they try to kill him again, and he survives that. And then after that, that's when he's basically revealed by the head of the UN. Listen, the only reason you're a wall facer is because they're trying to kill you. That's all we know. So obviously you have some importance to them. So
yeah, he has slightly less support from the UN, than the other wall facers.
Yeah. But
the thing about Luoji is he basically only uses the resources for himself. He's still self-focused completely. Yep. until there is a moment where he decides not to be self-focused.
Yep.
And well, it kind of is, but he wants to bring this vision that he's had of the perfect partner, which if anybody here, I'm just a little side note, if anybody here has ever read into like MBTI, I think Luoji is an INFJ, and here's why. Because every INFJ has a secret hidden fantasy world where they imagine a partner, and nothing can touch that imagination. And so every person that they become involved with in a relationship is going to like compete with that. And when I read that about INFJs, I was like, they suck. And I thought the same thing about Luoji. I was like, you suck, because he basically imagines the perfect person that he believes cannot possibly exist. Therefore, there's no point to fall in love with anybody in real life because they can never hold up.
They can't match.
When he becomes a wall facer, with all of these resources at his disposal, he decides to find this person. And the cool thing is that Da Shi from the first book comes back. He is the person
By the
who
way,
has led.
just so you know, Victoria, it's Da Shi. That's how you pronounce it.
Okay, Da Shi comes back from the first book, which I love him because he is
awesome.
He's so crude, but at the same time, so true. He's very Plutonian in his, like, he's a very dark, very like straight, like really dark humor. He's always making fun of the fact that his whole life is life and death, and everybody he comes into contact with, the only reason he's coming into contact with them is either because they're a criminal or because criminals want to get them. So his whole life is darkness, and he laughs at it like it's hilarious. But at the same time, he has the most critical thinking mind that you don't expect. It comes out where he's always right, but he's humble because he's never like throwing that in people's faces. He's one of those people. So when Dasha comes back in the second book, I love it. He's manning the security for Luoji. Luoji tells him about this woman. Lo and behold, it ends up being like Dasha already knows of a woman who matches this description, and it's his niece.
No, it's not. It's not. I know. I thought that too. She calls him uncle, but Luoji says to her, I went back and listened to this a couple times to make sure. Luoji asks if she met Dasha, and she says, yes, I did meet him. He's a very nice man. Something like that. So she calls him
uncle as a sign of respect.
No,
yes.
No, but then when he is about to go into hibernation, he says, you are the only thing keeping the line of the should line going.
Yeah, I know, but
what is that about?
It's because he's a wall facer.
It's confusing as hell.
It is.
Anyway,
I was confused too. I went back multiple times to make sure because I was like is this his niece? Yeah.
No, it's like, what's going on? But anyway, Dasha does the thing. He finds this perfect woman from his dreams. I don't believe it. When you're reading it, you're believing this isn't going to work out. She's not going to agree to this, whatever. It's suspect. I'm going to tell you that right now. I was suspicious of it. Everybody was, right? The perfect woman is just found, totally willing to just be around him, and you don't ever know if they're going to be together. 5 years later, they're still together. Book skips ahead 5 years, they're still together. And Luoji has done nothing, nothing regarding the Wall Facer project, except for live his life in this idyllic Eden-like world. That's it. That's all he's done.
It's pretty
all
sick,
the other Wall Facers we start coming into contact with now. 5 years later, they've had their plans, they've been using resources, they've been strategizing, doing their thing, and you're introduced, before this 5 years comes, you're introduced to what's called the Wall Breakers. And I'll let Frank talk about that because I got to pee real quick. Hold on, let me go pee. But think about it, Frank, because when we get back, we'll do Wall Breakers.
That, or Danielle, do you want to talk about it?
This book confused the shit out of me. Like, it's good, but it's hard to follow it.
It is. I had to go back a couple times and be like, what's going on?
Yeah, so the Wall Breakers are
the ETO.
And they're supposed to stop the Wall?
They're figuring out what the Wall Facer's plan is. That's their whole job.
Okay.
So the ETO assigns one person to be each person's wall break. Well, we're ruining. I'll cut all this. But yes. The ETO is they pick one smart
I
person
only
for
wanted
each
Frank
wall
to talk
facer.
about the wall breakers. I only wanted Frank to talk about the wall breakers because he said in the message that he'd gotten through the wall facers and he loved the wall breakers.
Yes.
So I was like, all right, talk about it.
Yeah, so Danielle, I was telling you, okay, so wall breakers. So we have these wall facers and they're coming up with their plans. Well, the ETO isn't just going to let this happen, gets instructions from the Lord himself, Trisolaris, to say...
Let's just pause. And so the UN has assigned the wall facers.
Yes.
Who is the ETO again? Let's just, because...
The Earth Trisolaris organization. This is the people that love Trisolaris and want them to come to Earth.
And defeat Earth.
Sort of. It's kind of... Yes, but also they're concerned about using that sort of language because if you say that, it could scare people off of basically saying, hey, as soon as they get here, they're going to shoot you in the face, right? Like, so...
Which is my confusion because I keep thinking, are all of the ETO just wanting them, Trisolaris, to come and kill all of them? Because I'm just like...
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're like, come kill us, please, thank you.
Yeah, but they don't really want that. I think in their head they're thinking they'll let us live because we're loyal, you know, like it's that classic
It's
trope
some
like
weird, like 50 Shades of Grey submissiveness
Yeah.
stuff where you're like, okay, if you want to live in a cage,
that.
whatever.
Come at me, dumb daddy. Yeah.
Ew. Could have totally used like Planet of the Apes. But anyway, so yeah, it's... Okay, so the ETO is like the people on planet Earth
Yep.
who are working against
Planet Earth.
planet Earth.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. It's the Earth people that
Yes.
want Trisolaris to come there. and
They're
live
the
in
ones still
civilization.
meeting in the game as well.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So they form the wall breakers and they say, okay, we're going to assign a really smart person to come and figure out what that wall facer's plan is, because the wall facers have a plan in secrecy to basically defend the Earth against Trisolaris, possibly even destroy Trisolaris and the Trisolarian fleet that's coming towards Earth. So
Chess match. That's
yep.
the best way to describe it. They're in a chess match.
But the weird thing is, and this is another weird thing. So what we know is they assigned 3 wall breakers, but we have 4 wall facers. We have 3 wall breakers assigned to Tyler, to Ken, and to Ray. And these 3 are all coming up with their plans like normal, but Luoji doesn't get a wall breaker. But again, it's not because they're not scared of Luoji. What you find out is Trisolaris says Luoji is his own wall breaker. And they're still super scared of him, and they still want to try and assassinate him, but they don't even assign him a wall breaker. But then again, he's not coming up with any plans.
He's doing his own thing.
Yeah, so it's like we're really scared of this guy, and
But we're not for sure why.
and the Lord even, you find out that the head of Trisolaris is even basically saying like that Luoji rivals the Lord of Trisolaris. That's what the Lord says basically. So Luoji's this really weird character that doesn't want to really do anything in life.
Doesn't even want to be part of the wall breakers.
Yeah, he wants to basically just, honestly, he wants to have a great life, which is basically fall in love with a woman and just live a peaceful, quiet life. Problem with that is, again, you're not doing that forward-looking, how is this world going to be for the rest of humanity? And you also have Trisolaris that wants to kill him. So it's very strange and very weird. And just the part that's so exciting is when those wall breakers show up, because you're going to hear a lot about wall facers. You're going to hear a lot about their plans. But at some point, those wall breakers are going to show up. They're going to come and they're going to have some impact on the story. Is all I'm saying. They don't.
Well, they're gonna play chess with them. They're gonna explain how they've been playing chess with them this whole time. And the big question is, who wins this chess match?
Yeah.
Because if you remember when we talked about the first book on our last podcast, the people that make up the ETO are like highly intelligent, highly influential people. They're not just random people. You are selected to be in the ETO by your intelligence, your thought process, your belief system. So it's not just random people. It's very highly intelligent, influential, powerful people in the ETO.
Big time.
So it's crazy.
That's enough of book 2
It's
as
too
well.
amazing. It's just too amazing, formidable minds all the time combating.
Yep.
And then you add in all the other elements, and this is what this author does to you. You're just like, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. You know how you want to be smart and you want to be like, I can tell what's going to happen. You don't know. And I guarantee you don't know. So like I said, if you have any book that you have been so lost, but at the same time, just so invested in, please let us know, because this book, I guarantee you, you're not gonna be able to tell me what the answer is. You're not gonna be able to look ahead and say, this is where the book's gonna end up. I guarantee you're not predicting it.
No.
It's
Which twist and turn are you talking about, Victoria? Because there's about 18.
Exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying you're never gonna, like, when I was this morning, when I still had 100 pages to read, I started to think about, as you get close to the end of the book, you always think, I wonder what this next book is going to be like. Where am I going to end up?
Yeah.
And I literally was like,
Yeah. Honestly, at this point, I have no idea.
Yeah. I did love, though, at the end of the book, where they bring back in the title of the book. I'm not going to say too much about it, but I just like how he really does wrap it up, even though you have no idea the whole time. It suddenly comes up and it suddenly makes sense. Like, and he did have a Sherlock reference in there. You remember that when they said that one line, if you rule out everything.
Oh, yes.
It's something about. Do you remember that?
I think so, yeah.
And I was
yeah.
see, this is a murder mystery. I was like, this is a murder mystery, because they even brought Sherlock in. I'm like, he is totally pulling from those influences of making you just so. It just You rule out all the possible. The impossible thing must be true, or whatever.
Yeah, let's look it up, because now, yes, I remember that now. Let's rule out.
And I was like, Sherlock, yeah, exactly. Murder, freaking mystery, detective story. Nobody knows what's happening. And you know what? I'm going to tell you guys this, though. The one inkling that I have
that's going on in my mind right now.
That's
whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth.
Yes, that Sherlock reference. Yeah. Or is it a Sherlock reference?
Yeah, it's Arthur Conan Doyle. Yep. Good call.
Right. But, I do want to say the one thing that's swirling around my mind, the little seed that I've been like, really? And I kind of want it to be true, is I think Dasha is far more powerful than we've ever thought he was. I think if I had to predict something, if someone said, predict like where this is going to go and who is actually controlling the strings of all of this, I would be like, I think it's Dasha.
Really?
I think it would be. Yes, because I keep thinking Dasha said one thing to Luoji that I was like, that's perfect. He was explaining to him how to be interrogated. And he said, the thing that you do is you act like you are not a part of it in any way. Don't look at me. Don't even pay attention to me. And I'm like, that's Dasha.
Yeah.
Good point.
Like, that's Dasha, though. You always are going, he doesn't know. He's stupid. And then,
in book 1,
even when he comes up with right answers, he gets a little bit of respect. And he's still humble. And I'm like, why? And he's Plutonian, and that's what usually Plutonian people do, is they control from like down below where you can't see them. They're at the apex of the spider web, but you're only noticing the spider web, not the spider. And I'm like, I think Dasha is more important. And like, and if that comes up, I'm gonna be like, yes, I predicted one thing for this.
Honestly, I think Dasha's the only character that has stayed through book 1 and 2, besides Yu's really short appearance in this book. Dasha didn't have too much of an appearance, but he's like the one character that has stayed.
I know. I'm like,
insanity.
I'm suspicious.
Okay, but what keeps swirling in my mind is the husband and wife we talked about, and what they created, like the project they worked on, and the whole water thing, and right? Like, it keeps swirling in my mind. If you had the choice to get something implanted in your brain and you would totally believe it, like, would you? Like, that's so, like, that concept of,
Yeah.
right? Like, I keep going back to that.
Wait, are you? Don't explain their plan.
Huh?
Don't explain their plan.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, like, that choice.
Well, I'm cutting this.
Yeah.
That it keeps swirling. Like,
Of getting something implanted in your brain, I believe.
a belief, yeah. Like, oh my
No,
gosh.
no,
Like,
absolutely
would
not. No, absolutely
Would you?
not.
And what would you?
Absolutely not.
And well, my thing is, I really enjoy how they tied everything together from book 1 to book 2. Of the way that this all started was with a defeatist attitude, a person that had been so downtrodden and distanced from all of the humanity that she knew in her life, the love that she was connected to, gave her this defeatist attitude. And then in the second book, we're really battling that because of the fact that there's basically incoming doom with, we don't know if we will survive. There's a what is that? The future is not predictable, unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
But we probably will have a huge battle at least. So are we going to survive anyway? And what's the purpose? Let's say that we are going to die in the future. What's the purpose right now of procreating, of creating stability right now? Because in 50 years and 100 years and 200 years, the planet's not going to exist. There's a huge defeatist attitude swirling around in the minds of all of these people. So it has spread.
Yeah.
And then the ending of this book, which I won't say specifics at all, but I'm really careful with it because it is really, I really want you to read it. Anybody out there, read this book. Anyway, the defeatist attitude has spread so far and has had such huge consequences to tons of people's lives, but it's almost like
and the state of the world, right? Because there's it takes individuals, right, to do their job to run our world, and as it spreads, it's breaking down our society and our economics and all of it. So it's like it's all starting to break down because of the defeatist attitude. So it's like, what are we going to do about that? Like, this is a huge problem.
What do we do about it?
But the weird thing is we've had the wall facers who are completely cut off from everyone, but that's what this defeatist attitude does to everyone as well, because they don't want to be seen as defeatist. And so they're also not telling their real thoughts to everybody. And so the difference between Trisolaran culture and our culture is that Trisolarans, all their thoughts are immediately available. So they would know if they had a defeatist attitude, or they would know any of their beliefs. They would know them immediately. Whereas our greatest power, but also our greatest defeat, is the fact that we can hide our thoughts. And so it's this crazy, it's just a great book if you want to sort of delve into a lot of psychology, but in a really murder mystery, like you're just going along with it type of way, where you don't have any idea what's coming, but it's really making you question a lot of things and making you think about a lot of things without sort of laying down a judgment on them too much. So it's fascinating. I really recommend it.
All right, let's do some reviews of this thing. What is our supposed like outline? Who made an outline? Was that you, Danielle? Why are you trying to be so organized?
We said
this is
the
not
front of the book. We'll give a little overview of the author.
This is a chaos era.
We'll give a little.
This is not a stable era.
And then we would do.
Yes, then we end it.
You know, what we thought about the book, what we want to talk about, sort of go through and comment, and then when we get to the end of it, we'll do a little bit of reviews, and then we would talk about the next book, and then we would say goodbye. Right?
Yep, that's it. Perfect. Okay, so reviews. Even more epic and compelling than its predecessor. Yes.
Slow build up,
although
it's absolutely worth the wait.
Well, okay, just skip. But that is one thing that I wanted to say was it is slow at the beginning. It's a little slow, but it is worth the wait. As soon as they get into wall facers, you're gonna be good. As soon as they get into wall facers. Like it's a nonstop right
Well,
from there.
it's much like the first book. And so if you've read the first book, you know that it's going to get technical and it's going to get deep and you're going to get into some crazy situations.
Yep.
Same with this book. He's got to kind of lead you up to it, but once you hit that apex, you're going to fly down like on the roller coaster. You're not going to want to get off. And it ends really well too.
Yep.
It's a really satisfying ending. So you're not going to be disappointed.
It's good.
Yep. People said it's better than the first book. By the way, it got 74% 5 stars, 20% 4 stars. That means 94% of people gave it at least 4 stars. Just saying. And now, the other thing to remember with these reviews is that a lot of times these 1 stars are just going to be like, hey, I didn't get my book, you know?
Or it showed up
Yeah,
damaged.
it was dog-eared on one page, and I won't accept this kind of injustice.
Yeah. One person put lots of words, little content.
What?
No, that is, and I'm gonna say it, Don Quixote.
Don't say it.
I brought it
We
up.
have to ban it.
We're gonna bring it up until it's no longer a classic. It is on a campaign. I am motivated. I will destroy the reputation of Don Quixote.
Seriously though, that would be anyway. Yeah, this person. There are whole sections of this book that could be cut out without in any way affecting the narrative or the story. That's how padded it is. Okay.
I disagree with that.
Yeah. And he's saying that they're introducing characters and plots that go nowhere and are abandoned, which it's like part of this is to almost feels like part of this is to throw you off and to not understand what's going on where.
Well, and we don't know how it's all gonna lay out in the next book.
I know.
Either.
There's
So
another
it's like,
book.
It's true. So this person's dumb. Okay, so there are interesting elements in the story, but the beginning was so... And this guy gave it a 2.5 stars. Stop trying to do half stars. Just
commit.
Is it 2 or is it 3? I'm tired of it. We've explained it last time. But anyway, he gave it 2.5. And he says, there's interesting elements, but the beginning was so dull and disjointed that I put it down for over a year. So, again, a little bit of a slow buildup. There is. But the people do end up becoming relevant to the story. And it's like Victoria was describing, he's sort of using these people as the different people that would interact in a scenario like this, such as somebody that's thrust into the middle of it and has this humongous responsibility to do something. Then there's the military people, and then there's the regular civilian population. You're kind of getting all their thoughts and feelings about how this would feel with a contact situation where the other civilization wants to kill you.
Right.
So this guy, again, you're an idiot. Anyway.
Well, I think it's if you're the type of person who doesn't like a lot of detail, you want a really good story, but you want it to just be really linear, quick, where there's not a lot of guesswork. This type of book, which is meant to be, which most sci-fi is going to be, right when you pick it up and you hear sci-fi, you're going to hear about concepts, hopefully, that you've never heard of. That's why it's science fiction. It's something we don't know about, or it does not exist. So I think if you're writing this review and you've picked up a heavy sci-fi book that's been already read by a bunch of people and touted as being innovative and inspiring, it's gonna bend your mind. It's gonna take time to do that as well. So I just think people that say that kind of stuff, they're not looking for a deep dive. And it's like, that's fine. You can find a billion other authors who are going to give you a really straightforward, quick story.
Roberts.
Sure, yeah, Nora Roberts.
Go read Nora Roberts at
That's
night.
a great one.
And have fun with that. Have your little weird thoughts, you sicko freak.
You're not looking to
are
deep
you-
dive into some.
Because Nora Roberts writes about romance.
You just shamed people for reading romance novels and then also what they do in their bedrooms. Good job.
Whatever you're doing right now, just stop. Just please. Why do I feel judged?
We need to go back to a prudish culture.
No.
Okay. This person says,
We're still heavily.
It's still here. This person says, interesting idea, terrible writing. Okay. Let's see what he has to say. Or she could be a girl. No, it's Patrick Brennan.
Okay. Cut that out.
He lives at 765
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
San Diego, California, and he's an idiot.
So he
Tell
says,
him.
hibernation is suddenly introduced, and he says that it's a thing that as if the reader should already be familiar. And it's a little jarring, and the technology's not aligned. And I'm like, okay, yeah, the hibernation was introduced suddenly. I get that. Some things can happen like that, where it's like, hey, this thing shows up and it wasn't explained. But it's hard because he's already taking us through so much weird stuff, like to be able to explain hibernation to us and how it comes about and stuff.
And not to mention, you're jumping years ahead, right? So there's going to be technical advances, right, in our technology and science. So it's like, yes, I get that it's jarring, but it's also expected. Look how fast we have grown technologically within the last 20 years compared to the years before that. Like, it's just
2 years ago, iPhones had 2 cameras. Now they have 3.
Well, and also I refute what he said about it being thrust upon us, because in Trisolaris they have dehydration, so it's basically a heat-based preservation, and all we're doing is introducing a cool or cold-based preservation of life. So I just disagree with that completely, that it's thrust upon us suddenly. I mean, we experience it from Earth, but we've had so much contact with Trisolaris and the way that their world works that that's an easy jump to make. So I think he's just picking at things that are weird.
This next one's stupid too. The next thing he has a problem with. But I was just gonna say that you have to be able to suspend some of your belief a little bit for books, anyways, and for stories. Like, you don't have to just basically be like, where it's like looking at The Martian, where The Martian really tried to get all the science right. Like, okay, that's one type of way to do it, right? Which is great. Martian's fantastic, but it's okay in a story to have a little bit of just like, I don't know, but I think
it's a different type of story in that it's not like a Danielle Steele story where she's going to describe the type of wallpaper on the wall. This story, you need to be able to follow along and go with the book, because there's way more important things than describing how hibernation was created that we need to understand, right?
Yeah, and how to introduce it. It's okay if all of a sudden you're like, hey, we can have people hibernate. It's like, all right, cool.
Also, I mean, if we think about it, though, Harry Potter, that took forever for J.K. Rowling to get published. She was turned down for years and years trying to get Harry Potter published. So
that's insane. To think about.
I think it's just it's the fact that we created a technological magic. That's how Harry Potter books are described. Technological magic. So we're seeing everything using magic, like pots and pans, not just a person, which we've thought of as before. And so she was turned down a bunch of times. So it's just like, I think a lot of people have really closed-mindedness when it comes to, but you're reading a science fiction book. You want there to be things that are not real or currently exist in the world. When you read, this is a sci-fi book, it is fiction. There are going to be things that are not explained that are totally different from our reality. It's like, let's
just say this. Let's say this. This is where I think he's just being absolutely ridiculous. And it shows that I just don't trust his opinion anymore. He says, this introduction happens again with wall facers. They just suddenly arrive, and not only that, the world seems to suddenly just know who they are and what they are. No.
They don't just suddenly arrive.
He literally describes how the wall facers came about and why they came about, the selection process for them. Are you kidding me? Like...
But again, that's on the back of the book. If you're already upset, you knew that from the back of the book. Oh, don't tell me he's one of those people that I don't read the back of the books, so I don't want to be like. And it's like, well, if you're going to be this confused, look at the backs of books and read the genres, so you're not so upset when you get into the meat of the story. I think some people are just hateful and they want to be upset.
He went out of this way to describe how there are often intricate details that are proffered that make absolutely no sense and are never explained. He went out of this way to describe how the dish atop the hill made people sick, the radar dish. It was doing transmissions, dude. So it made people sick because it was really high energy waves being sent out into the universe.
Well, and it gives you the sense of like, this is a place that is doing things that are secret from the rest of the world, right? It's like it was setting up that like this place and this on top of this mountain is no one knows about what it's doing, but it's definitely suspect. Like it just that,
but he did explain it too.
No, he does. But I'm just saying, like the buildup of how he explained it was purposeful.
Yeah, it's suspenseful. It's like the murder mystery, like Victoria keeps saying. It's like we don't just get to know everything. We're kind of trying to figure out what's going on. What is this base?
There's a third 600-page book that's coming up next.
Yeah.
It's like we can't even tell the holes that are left yet. We don't know the holes that are potentially left.
Mediocre sci-fi at its finest. The plot is weird and highly improbable. It's science fiction. Like,
I'm telling you, these people are like, they just are like, all right, I'm reading now. They don't check anything. They're just, I'm reading. Shut up. And then they're like, what is this drivel?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, series is great. Printing is riddled with errors. Okay. Doesn't bother us. Totally ridiculous book.
This book is just plain horrible. Like,
the first half of the book experience nothing to do with poor writing. The whole Dream Girl stuff is just sexist and ludicrous. The whole Dream Girl stuff is just sexist and ludicrous?
oh my gosh.
How's it sexist?
He literally adds the exact same thing in its opposite form with his girlfriend also having the male counterpart. Yeah. So how is it sexist?
I don't get it. Like, and they both have their own thing, and it's basically getting, the whole point of it is, like you explained earlier, getting caught up in a fantasy. It's like, so people can't have fantasies?
What I wanted to say about that as well is, so my annoyance with him at that time was the fact that Luoji, his fantasy his connection to it mainly had to do with him thinking about this fantasy girl and paying attention to her.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he fell in love with her.
Mm-hmm.
We can do that in real life with real people. He could have done that.
Mm-hmm.
He chose not to. So it's like when the doctor said everyone has a fantasy person and real people don't live up to them, I heavily refute that. I think you can have a fantasy person and choose to never let anybody touch that image. But real people, the reason why you fall in love with them is because you think about them, because you're consistently thinking about who they are, why they do what they do, how they talk, how they move, the choices they make, how they have a connection to you. You fantasize about a real person and they'll have just as much connection. So it annoyed the heck out of me that situation occurred, but it's not sexist because the girlfriend had the exact same counterpart in male form. So, no, refuted. Stop writing reviews. You suck at them.
What does he talk? This person says that when he's talking about how he describes women and says that the dream girl is knowledgeable, but not to the point where it calcifies her. And he's saying like this is basically an attack against women. Like it's somehow putting women down or making the woman characters one-dimensional, but it's like, or something, or shallow. But it's like, no, do you not understand that the character trope of you have so much knowledge that you have no emotions? Like that's what he's talking about. And then he says,
I think he's relating it back to the first book where we do have what's the grave, the first in the beginning of this book, the grave that they're at. Her daughter was like that. She didn't have any connections because she was just too focused on her work.
Mm-hmm. It's a classic trope. It's like Sherlock Holmes almost, where it's like,
Yeah.
so much knowledge that you just don't care. And the rest of the quote is, she's knowledgeable, but not to the point where it calcifies her. It only makes her more sensitive to life and to the world. It's like, yeah, she has emotions. That's what he's saying. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. He's already describing.
So literally,
I think these people want to be offended. I think they want to be offended, and they're going to find anything that offends them. They're going to find something.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then, okay, then he says there's
You know
this
what?
other.
It's that man. Go on.
I was just going to say the other thing that they say is then there's the Secretary General at the end, who's described as a refined Asian lady who didn't project the sense of power needed. Woe is the feminine form who either can't be too smart, too robust, or too powerful. Okay, but what he's saying is like could be a general thought throughout society as thinking this about this woman, but then she turns out to be very smart and capable, and she does come back and leads again. Like,
I think what you're fighting, Frank, right now in fighting this person's train of thought is they don't want things to be described as having any, as being, they don't want things to be able to have a description.
yeah.
You can't describe something as appearing a certain way. Because if you apply that to a woman, even if you went the other direction, she appeared callous and manly in her and leadership quality, had very little feminine qualities, this person would still be upset. No matter how she is described, this person is going to be upset. So it's just one of those things. Some people, they want to be offended. They want it. Like they have some burning urge inside them to be offended. So no matter which way any of the women were described in this book, this person is going to be upset about it.
Yeah, because it's like the thing with, like, if you just think about Wincia, like, dude, she was a total baller. Like, she was able to hide all of her thoughts and feelings, and able to basically screw over humanity, and yet she was still, she still had a deep thirst for knowledge, and she still wanted to learn. But then she comes back around and she helps teach some of the students in that village in the book 1, because she still does have a part of her humanity, and it's almost like making her like wish she could save anything. Like, no, these women, the characters are not one-dimensional. I feel like just people just
It's
aren't
character
getting
progression.
it. Yeah, but it's not even just progression. It's even just showing the struggles that humans have. Like,
Right.
it's literally Wincia hates civilization, literally hates it, and then she sees the good side of humanity, where she's working with those villagers, and when she has her baby and they're helping care for the baby, and she's seeing the love that they're giving to this baby, and she sees that part of humanity, and she is reflecting like what did I do, basically, like you do get a little bit of that from her. I don't know, people are just, anyway.
We can even compare it. We can do the opposite. We can compare it to a masculine figure. Dasha is a very masculine figure. You would say he's described as a very manly man. He's crude. He's blunt. He doesn't care who he's offending. And a ton of the male figures in the book do not like him because of this. And that's a cultural thing. So it's like, it depends on where you're from. That's how you're going to be describing things as well. What is normal for your culture? What feels right? In their culture, there's a lot of respect and a lot of deference that comes from your position and status. And so when Dasha just bluntly says things, people think that's out of line. You're not allowed to speak to all of us
because he's just a detective, basically, right?
Because he's just a detective. He's not a government official or has some high-powered degree of power.
General, yeah.
But he still does it. That's a very masculine thing. Should the author be in trouble because he described Dasha as being very masculine and describing those characteristics? I mean, it's just a way of differentiating people from one another. We can't all be the same.
Right.
That's just the way it is.
But
we're going to have differences, and we're going to have ways of describing them.
But he doesn't even describe it as masculine. He's just describing, like, he's not even like, he's just making Dasha that character who is blunt, who is honest, who does just say what's on his mind. But then he has other characters, like he has freaking Luoji, who doesn't care about anything, who's just off, just la-di-da-di-da, like,
Right.
I only care about myself, right? Like, it's...
Well, and again, like you said, Victoria, I mean, the different cultures and how you're raised and how you treat people and the difference you give to the older generation, like, it's all built into culture too. So he's pulling from a lot of different areas and trying to fit it into
It's just human experience. And I think a lot of people nowadays, they want human experience to be a much less nuanced thing and kind of unrelatable to people. But that's the problem, is it becomes unrelatable. If I can't describe things as I see them and as from my own perspective, I'm never going to learn about your perspective when you talk to me about how you see it differently.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's the problem with cutting off that communication and deciding that things aren't nuanced, is we cease to learn from each other.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, this is the main goal of books in the first place. Books allow you to enter into a world that you will probably never experience, and then decide what you would do in that kind of situation, and thus expands your mind in those areas.
Yep.
It helps you to formulate new beliefs or solidify beliefs that you already have. And it's a very important thing that we have at our disposal. That's why I'm so in favor of libraries, because it's free information all the time where you can just really expand your mind. So I think some people, maybe they're just not ready for certain things to be involved, or they're having life experiences which are making them angry at certain ways of life, which is fine. This person's fine, to express their opinions. But I just think they might not be ready for for this type of book, I guess, or for kind of, they're just a little bit precious right now about things.
Yeah, they shouldn't read. So the other thing I was going to say is,
revoke your library card.
Seriously, you don't deserve one. You should be banned. Don't ban books, ban people's library. Don't burn books, burn people's library cards. So what I was going to say, though, is that also what you could look at is when they're describing this ideal perfect woman, what Lou does is he even says, Dasha says, well, I don't think she's the perfect woman. I see some flaws that I would personally have. So it's even doing that thing of the ideal person for us is different for everybody. Totally. It's not even saying there's this one standard that you live to. So all of you people that say that about this author can go fuck yourselves. How about that?
Okay. Well, so that's book 2. We all really like it, and we think you should read it.
Yes.
Frank, who wants to talk a little bit about book 3 and what we have in store next? What is the title? It's
Death's End.
Death's End.
Yep.
Yeah, it's Death's End. I'll read you the back. No. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna read the on the back of this book. It has advanced praise for Death's End. So I'm gonna read. It doesn't give anything away, but I'm gonna read it. It says, the 3-body epic concludes with sweep and scope and majesty worthy of Friedrich Pohl or Pohl Anderson, Scholar Wu, or H.G. Wells. The universe is likely to be a rough neighborhood. See just how rough, and how life might still prevail. So this is really gonna dive us into kind of the Death's End is gonna dive us into how do we survive in such a massive solar system when we're trying to reach out to other species. How will we be able to get along? If we have communication problems on Earth, how are we going to possibly navigate communicating with other species, other groups of people, how are we going to do that? So it's going to be interesting. We're going to see how we go.
Death's End.
So
just saying.
Well, Death's End, that can mean so many things.
Yep.
So many things. It could mean the end of death, as in, like, I don't know, we discover immortality.
Right.
Or it could be literally you're meeting the end of your life.
Like there's, yeah.
You're dead now. Or you're coming to the one civilization may be coming to a complete end, and the other is surviving.
With that, people. Dang.
I'm not doing it.
Put it up there.
Just cringing. I'm not doing it. Love you guys.
You're damn.
I hope you.
Big.
So cringy.
Put it up there.
No, I'm not doing it.
Color.
With that,
And
people.
then there was 2.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you for
Bye.
listening.